I recently had this experience where there was, I mentioned it a few days ago, someone was hooning out on my street.
It wasn't the possum.
No, it wasn't the possum this time. He and I have an ongoing issue, but went out on the street to see where it was. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, cars screeching, yelling and all of that, and I got worried. Went out to check, and as soon as I stepped out, it was three people fighting with each other. As soon as they saw me, they started yelling at me, calling me Indian dog. Just right away, off the top of my head, off the top of their heads, their first reaction was to go straight for the racial insult.
Did you go, I'm a Pakistani?
Yeah, just start clarifying. Well, technically, in 1947, there was a division between... No, I didn't get time to get into the semantic details, but it was that thing of, those racial insults and how quickly they come and how they do affect you psychologically as well. They tend to take a toll. Such a toll has also been taken by a Melbourne rabbi who recently was, on Monday night, in fact, found himself having abuse hurled at him by someone on the road, which was quite shocking in nature. Some of the language used was beyond the pale when it comes to anti-Semitism. Dr. Dvir Abramovich is the chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission and brought the story to the news. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Sammy. Good morning to all.
Can you explain to us what exactly happened when this rabbi found himself being yelled at?
He was driving in the heart of Caulfield on North Road and stopped at a red light. And this outburst of anti-Semitism came into full view. The man, those who want to watch the video can go online, but we had the most vile and repugnant anti-Semitic slurs hurled at him. He was obviously deeply shocked. But I have to tell you that I'm not surprised. And it's clear to me that anti-Semitic incidents and public attacks on Jews in Australia are becoming a constant in our daily lives. And yes, this act of bigotry would shock to the core and the conscience of most people watching it. But I have a message to all your listeners and also to our leaders and to our elected representatives, and that is that anti-Semitism in our nation is alive and well. And we should all be deeply concerned about this stain on our society. So there's a troubling picture emerging over the last 12 months.
You've seen a rise specifically over the last 12 months?
Yes, we've had firm data showing us that over the last year we've had a 60% rise in anti-Jewish bigotry across the country, which is the largest single year increase on record. And, the genie is out of the bottle. And even for someone like myself who is involved and fights anti-Semitism 24/7, the last 12 months have shocked me to the core.
So we've actually seen a rise in far right finding its way into mainstream media and mainstream consciousness, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Have you seen a particular event, though, that was that you think can be attributed to some of this?
Well, we can't, in a sense, lay the increase in anti-Semitism, in racism, in prejudice at the revolving door of one incident. I guess the one that most people would recall was the neo-Nazi rally, or at least the rally in which we had neo-Nazis march in the streets of St Kilda. But the phone at the Anti-Defamation Commission rings too often with reports of anti-Semitism. Last year we had a Jewish woman driving in Elsternwick, which was abused by a couple in a car screaming, "Hitler was right and should have killed you." We had a teacher in a supermarket car park in Bentley, again subjected to an appalling racist tirade with a woman and a man yelling at her saying Hitler had the right idea. We've got an epidemic of anti-Semitism at schools. We had a 13-year-old Jewish girl at a public school sent a Snapchat video with a classmate rapping about her going to the guest shower. So this is something that we are seeing more and more, and it's quite scary. It's quite concerning.
It's numbers that seem to be accumulating at a higher rate than any of us would like to hear. Have you, and you yourself mentioned, have you personally been attacked?
I have, mostly online. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's emails, phone calls, the office. What we have to realize is that today, because of social media, every bigot has a megaphone, and they can unburden themselves instantaneously and anonymously and inexpensively. And these haters are using the extraordinarily large social media platforms to reach wide audiences, but also to attack Jews, to attack minorities. And Sammy, I have to tell you that we have to be very, very alarmed about what's happening. We are living in a particularly toxic time when we are seeing an increase in xenophobia, in racism, which is often stoked by the rhetoric of some public figures, anti-immigrant sentiment, it's okay to be white, vilifying and demonizing minorities. So it's time for the adults in the room to stand up. And I would actually call on the Premier, but also on the Prime Minister, to push back against this hatred more than ever, and perhaps to convene a meeting of leaders from across the communal and political divide to hammer out an action plan with effective preventative measures to tackle this growing cancer on our nation.
In the meantime, here's hoping that the rabbi who did suffer the abuse gets some of the support he might need in this time. Thank you so much, Dr. Dvir Abramovich, Chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission.